Hello and welcome to the Route One show. We're taking a look at Halifax Town now, and I'm delighted to say joining me is Tom Scargill. Tom, how are you doing, mate?
Yes, good mate. Are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's been a few weeks since we've had you on, and I think last time we spoke, it was okay. It was going okay, actually, and things look to be kind of going along steadily in the league. It's gone badly wrong since then, Tom. I've been keeping an eye on results, and it really seems to have gone downhill quickly. Before we kind of get into the league stuff, though, we should just mention was it Tuesday night's game in the FA Trophy? They managed to edge past Harrow Borough on penalties. Seemed like a bit of a tricky game, did that?
Yeah, I mean that's probably where Halifax are at the moment. That a game against a team 2 divisions lower is classed as a tricky tie. Fair play to Harrow; they gave it everything. 1-0 down at half time, but they came out fighting, showed a lot of spirit. But Halifax did really scrape through. They didn't really show the quality that you'd have hoped of a higher league opponent. They made hard work of it, really. And two really good finishes from Rob Harker kind of got them out of jail a bit, and then they scraped them on penalties. So I think that kind of shows where they are as a team at the moment. A massive kind of work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But through to the next round, so does it offer a nice distraction from everything going on in the league? Do you think?
Definitely, yeah. I think it'd probably look a lot bleaker if they weren't in the FA Trophy. That's the way things are going. That's kind of the salvation of the season at the moment, because they've just drifted further and further down the table, further and further away from the playoffs. Got a really busy month this season, so you kind of think they're going to be dropping points because there's so many games. So the fact that they're in the FA Trophy is something really positive for the fans to cling to.
Yeah, and mentioning the league form, I mean, if we take a look at that over the last few weeks, I mean, probably the bottom of the barrel was the Scunthorpe game at home that they lost against a struggling Scunthorpe game. What's going on? What's happened, do you think?
Well, they're without some good players like Luke Summerfield, Kean Spence, and Matty Warburton at the start of the season. They'd have probably been the first choice midfield three, and especially Summerfield and Spence, their influence has been missed. Players are blowing hot and cold. Manny Disarov up front had a really purple patch of goals, but he's not scored in a while. Harker scored against Harrow on Tuesday, but that was his first goals for 2 months. Festus Arthur had been doing well in defence, but he made a mistake against Scunthorpe, and then there was another defensive error against Notts County. The teams had to be chopped and changed all over the place, different formations, players coming in and out of the team. They've tried to make signings. They've only really made movement on that in the last couple of weeks. They've needed signings for longer than that, though, in terms of freshening things up. So it's a lot of factors, and there's been a fair bit of unrest on the terraces, culminating in chance of we want Millie out at the end of the Notts County defeat last Saturday. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind of circumstances, really, and uh,
Hello? Hello?
yeah, the Scunthorpe game was really bad. You go into that game looking at Scunthorpe's away form, way behind the table, lost any kind of assets they had in their team that could be cherry picked, and they come and win 1-0 and play better than Halifax on TV as really, really poor.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And obviously, you mentioned there about that pressure building on Millington as well. What needs to happen now, and can you see them getting back up to that level where they did improve and they did actually look as if they were climbing towards those playoff places?
Well, it's going to take a lot of hard work if they are going to do that, because they've lost ground again on the top seven. There's some good sides in the National League who are chasing those playoff places, and at the moment Halifax uh, are not good enough based on the evidence. They need the signings they've made to come in and make a difference. Adam Senior did all right at Notts County as a defender. They've signed a couple of attacking forward players. They need them to hit the ground running. It's going to take a big effort. I was quite optimistic back end of last year that they would finish in the playoffs, but that kind of hope has been evaporated gradually since the turn of the year. It's still not impossible, but with so many games this month especially, yes, it's an opportunity on the one hand to make up lost ground, but Saturday, Tuesday is really punishing in this league, especially with a team like Halifax who maybe don't have the strength and depth of bigger budget clubs. So it's going to be a pivotal month, but I just can't see them getting through it without dropping some crucial points, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Millington himself, how's his demeanour then? What's he saying about it? Or it's so difficult, such a horrible position to be in, isn't it? Especially if your own fans starting to turn.
Yeah, he's a really positive person, and he always tries to look at the positives. Yeah, I think he's tried to take positives out of the Notts County defeat where there weren't really many to take. Similarly with Harrow Borough, but at least it was a positive result. I think the main kind of faith and hope that the fans had in him back in the last year, that he had turned the corner, has kind of been worn away, and what they might have kind of pushed aside and looked in a different direction from in terms of his faults, those have kind of been brought to the front again. So it's a really tricky time for him, but as I say, he's a positive person. He doesn't really seem to get too affected by those circumstances in terms of the outside noise. He's had a lot thrown at him this year to say it's his first managerial role, right from Jamie Allen going on Love Island. A lot of injuries, a lot of disruption. I'm sure he's learned a hell of a lot as a manager, but I think the fans just want to see progress. They want to see, there have been mistakes. Millington's admitted as much, but I think the fans want to see that he's learned from those mistakes and that they don't happen again. Whereas I think some of the fans feel that those mistakes are continuing to happen, which is one of their main frustrations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because obviously we chat to different fans and journalists from other teams covering the region here in West Yorkshire. It's not a great. It doesn't seem a great year at the moment for most of the teams across West Yorkshire, to be honest, from Leeds in the Premier League all the way down. Bradford City, obviously, there's disgruntlement there. Huddersfield doing terribly. It's what's in the water? Is there something in the water, or what is going on, Tom?
Yeah, it's not good, is it? I mean, it does tend to come in cycles, especially with Halifax. Last 3 seasons been on the up, and now maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Huddersfield seem to be quite a cyclical club. Bradford. I know Simon, who covers Bradford, and he's had some great times and some, feast and famine, really. So it does tend to be like that, doesn't it? Barnsley, you can go through them all, and they've all had brilliant times and terrible times. It's one extreme or the. It's never boring, at least, is it?
Yeah, I do feel as well for the journalists like yourself as well. I think Simon said to us once, I think he's covered probably 5 good seasons, 5 exciting seasons, and the rest has just been a bit of a grind. You're just hoping for that kind of bit of special time, aren't you, really, and things to get going. But like you say, I mean, Halifax have had a few decent seasons on the rise, but obviously it's turned a bit this time. Up next, anyway, it's Oldham on Saturday, and then you've got Barnet on Tuesday. Are those the type of games you want coming up, or how do you see those going?
Yeah, 2 interesting games, 2 different games. Oldham are just outside the relegation zone, so
not bad form, though, are they? They're unbeaten, aren't they? In 4, aren't they, Oldham at the minute? But
yeah, he's done all right as Unsworth. I thought he was going to be struggling in terms of keeping his job a while ago, but he's starting to turn the corner. They've had a lot of new signings there, so it's probably a bad time to be playing them. Whereas Oldham might feel it's a good time to be playing Halifax. But if Halifax have playoff aspirations, then they certainly need to be going there and getting something out of the game. And then Barnet is a massive match because they're having such a good season, and Halifax need to make up ground on them because they're a fair few places above them in the table. So, and then they've got the FA Trophy next Saturday, so it's a massive week for the club, for Millington. All 4 new signings are available for Oldham. Whether we'll see all 4 start, I don't know. Maybe 3 of the 4 or 2 of the 4. Yeah, interesting game. I mean, Notts County away last week, it was a massively one-sided game. So much of it played in Halifax's half. I think Halifax can't really afford to do that again. They've got to go and be braver, try and impose themselves on the game more. I don't think the pitch is the best at Oldham, so it might not be a classic or pretty on the eye. It's going to be a test of character, digging in, how much do they want it, and then Barnet at home, you've got to be looking at 3 points really if you've got realistic hopes of climbing back up the table, because as I say, it's a tough month and you're starting to kind of move away from the midpoint of the season now, and the business end is coming into sight. So that form has got to get back to what it was like back end of last year.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of Millington's future, then, I mean, would there be any appetite for a change from board level at this time, or do you see them kind of just backing him ongoing, even if results don't turn?
Well, I spoke to David Bosworth back end of last year when it was closer to the good form, and he was saying, he's never considered getting rid of Millington. He's got his support and he's the right man for the job, and etc. etc. Whether the answer would be the same now, I think it probably would, because he's backed him in the market in terms of bringing 4 new players in. So I think he has made quick decisions in the past, as David Bosworth, in terms of getting rid of Darren Kelly after 10 games, getting rid of Neil Aspin a couple of months into the season when he was sacked. But I think he's very much his own man, and he will decide on his own terms whether Millington is the right man, and won't be unduly influenced by outside noises. And I think for the moment, Millington has done enough to remain in post, and unless they kind of really get sucked into the relegation dogfight, I think that will remain the case. And I think the FA Trophy success is helping in that regard. And in a way, that's credit to Bosworth, because that kind of patience is fast disappearing from football nowadays. I think it was probably the right decision at the time, because Millington did turn it round and got them to the verge of the playoffs, and he's going to have to do that again, because that was the expectation at the start of the season, was a minimum playoffs, and at the moment they're a fair way short of that. So Millington's proved he can turn bad form into good, but he's going to have to do that again. And well, you'd probably say a mid-table finish at least is the order of the day, and being a long way away from any kind of relegation scrap.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that, Tom. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like and do subscribe for more content on Halifax Town. Tom, thanks for joining us again, mate. We'll speak next week. Hopefully it'll be a little bit brighter by then. We'll wait and see.
Fingers crossed, mate. Cheers.